money. Money and self-healing, do they go hand in hand? And ultimately, can self-healing be tied to money? And can it help you get more of it? In this episode of the Life Coach Launch School Show, we are going to be talking about that exact thing. Self-healing and money. Let's rock and roll.
So most people don't realize just how much money trauma and money limiting beliefs exist in the world. And I genuinely believe that is why so few people, right? We're talking 1% of the world ever becomes millionaires. And if you make over $100,000 a year, you're in like the top 5%. And I genuinely believe this comes down to the money wounds and money beliefs that hold people back.
Money wounds. Now, you know, it's funny that you say that because I can't tell you how many people, not only that we followed over the years or people that we have mentored us over the years, it just seems that every single successful person we run into at any level talks about healing at some sort of capacity. So what would you say really, like, if we were looking at this from the grand scheme of things, right? Like, how can healing be tied to money in any facet? Like, money is money that we make versus healing is things that we do. So explain to me and to them, right? What is healing, and specifically not what is healing, but how can self-healing or us getting more healed or us whatever that is be tied to us making more money?
95% of the belief systems that we have as adults, sitting here as adults, those seeds were planted in our mind between the ages of 0 and 7. Now, 60% of the beliefs that we have, at least 60, are limiting us in some way. You grew up with a completely different money background than I did.
Yep.
I grew up in a lower middle class family where I heard things like, you have to work hard to make money, money doesn't grow on trees, we don't have enough money. And there was just a very like moral superiority around we don't need money, and looking down and judging people that did have money. Now, between the ages of 0 and 7, this is when we're in what's scientifically known as the imprinting phase. But it's essentially like your brain is in record mode. So it's just recording all this information that's coming in. It's recording what your parents say. It's recording what your parents do, the energy that they're in, their body language, all of this stuff. And then between 7 to 10, it kind of differs based on the child. But around that 7 to 10 age, we then hit play. And so if you grew up like me with all these beliefs that people who have money are bad people, then you have to basically choose, as long as you're holding on to that belief, you have to go out and choose, well, if I make a lot of money, I'm going to be a bad person, or I can not make a lot of money and I can be a good person. And even in society, we see this today, where there's like this whole eat the rich mentality, like billionaires shouldn't exist, right? There's all these tweets and things. And this, you know, whether it's the government or whatever, we don't have to go down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes, but whoever is perpetuating these beliefs are playing on this generational trauma around money. If you grew up around people who didn't have money, or around people who had poor spending habits or didn't know how to save, that when you hit record, that's what you're recording in your childhood. And then when you hit play, that's what you're going to continue to repeat until you meet somebody or you have some sort of intervention happen in your life that shows you a different way to be with money. And that's ultimately what healing is it's showing us that there's a different way to look at money.
So I think when we look at healing and we look at money, we first break down money, right? I think there's a huge misconception of what actually money is and how we get it. You know, I think we talk about this all the time now, having a little one ourselves, about how money and the way people get money and and the whole like interaction and really transaction of how money enters into our pockets really is not discussed with a lot of kids growing up. So when we look at like getting money and really what attracts money to our lives, one of the things I know you and I have found out a lot about is that money really attracts the happy people. I've noticed that when people are smiling or when people are extremely excited or happy or just like walking around, like when they are just like oozing with happiness, like you can feel that, and typically you want to be around them. So when I looked at like money being tied to healing, that was a lot of times what I saw. So I'd be curious to know like when it comes to energy and like the energy of money and how money can be attracted to a certain type of energy, what would you say is that energy that people can walk into so they can start attracting money to them, pretty what we've seen pretty instantaneously?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about money being energy, it literally is. Like, this swing that we're sitting on is energy. The shirt that you're wearing is energy. The air that we're breathing is energy, and it's all just vibrating at a different level. You are going to attract the level of money that you're vibrating on. So if you believe that the only way to get money is to exchange time and like hard physical labor or mental labor for money, then that's going to limit you, because you only have so many hours in a day, and you can only physically do physical labor or mentally do mental labor for so many hours of a day before you burn out, right? And so if you're holding money in that view, you're going to be vibrating at a low level. And so what people don't realize is that if you want something that's vibrating up here, you have to align your energy with what's up here. So there's this energy spiral, and they basically tested the vibrational frequency of different emotions: happiness, joy, love, gratitude, anger, sadness, hopelessness. And they found that they all have different like electromagnetic frequencies. This is not like some woo-woo stuff. This is actual quantum physics. And so they put it into a scale, basically saying like hopelessness, powerlessness is the very bottom of the scale. That's the lowest possible vibration that you can get into. And when you're in that vibration, that's going to cause you to have a low vibration around money, which means you're almost repelling money. It's almost like you've got this big stop sign up saying like, no, I don't want you. Whereas when you get into the higher vibrational emotions, gratitude, love, joy, peace, trust, then you're raising your vibrational level up. And so then you're going to attract a completely different level. Now, the other thing of it is we have this part of our brain called the reticular activating system. Think of this like the GPS on your phone. If you are in a vibration of powerlessness or hopelessness, you are limiting the blinders of your life to be very much in survival. So you're only going to be making short-term decisions around money. How do I use my money to feel good right now? And this is where we see people with addictions, whether it's shopping addictions or drug or alcohol or whatever addictions, they're using their money they're basically getting rid of it now to find something to make them happy in this moment. Whereas when you're not in survival mode, you're in these higher level vibrations, gratitude, trust, surrender, then you know like, okay, well, I don't need to buy this shirt right now. I don't need this alcohol or this whatever to make me feel good right now, because my external circumstances is not what makes me feel good. I choose to feel good. That's a decision. And I can use my money for something down the road that's going to generate me more money and give me more security, more freedom, more options. So they say money can't buy you happiness, and that's true. Money can't buy you happiness because happiness is an emotion that you choose to feel in the moment, but money can give you choices, and it can give you options, and it can give you freedom, and it can give you space and time to decide what you want to do. Whereas when you're in survival mode, it feels like I have to make a decision right now. My very life depends on it.
Now, when we look at, money, and then we kind of start merging these two together, what is it that you would say people need to start working on? Because there's a lot of things I think, we have the woo-woo, right? You got affirmations, you got, journaling, you got all these things that, someone's going to Google and they're going to look up. What do I do to start attracting money to me? So I think what would be like step by step that you would say like, okay, well, we've, seen how money is at least affected by healing, and someone who is taking the journey toward healing is usually going to have that journey of abundance coming right along the way, almost kind of like a byproduct. So what would you say is like someone sitting there and they're like, okay, well, if I Google how to get started healing so that I can, attract more money, they're going to come up with all these generic things that they could do. So what is it that you would say is a step-by-step process and where people should start that could really start bringing that money in once they start healing?
Yeah, so first and foremost is you have to look at the belief systems that you have around money and the emotions that you have around money. Like, let's say you went out to dinner with a group of friends. I always think there's this Friends clip where like Joey, Phoebe, and Rachel are all broke, and Monica, Chandler, and Ross are, have good paying jobs. And they go to this super fancy restaurant, and Rachel's like, I'll have the side salad on the side of my water. And Phoebe's like, I'll have this like cracker, right? And because they only have so much money. The bill comes, And they're like, oh, well, let's just split it 6 ways. And so if you were in that conversation where you're at this super fancy restaurant, you don't have a lot of money, the people that you're with spent way more money on you than dinner, and now they're like, hey, let's split the bill. How would that make you feel? Like, if you were in a conversation about money, what emotions come up for you? And that's where we really have to start. For most people, I find that the emotions that come up are shame and a lack of trust. Shame about how they don't have the money, what they don't own, the things that they don't have, and even shame about past decisions they've made about money, and then a lack of trust. I don't believe that money will show up when I need it. And I don't believe that if I made more money, that I would make good decisions with it. And that's where we have to start. So we have to release the shame. We have to forgive ourselves for past decisions that we've made. We have to forgive ourselves for the things that we did with money when we didn't know any better. And then we have to start building trust with ourselves with money. And this can be as simple as carrying around $200 in your wallet or in your purse with you and making the commitment to not spending it, but knowing that that money is there and feeling the abundance of having an extra couple $100s in your pocket that you could spend and you're choosing not to. These are the ways that we start to build up trust.
So now that we've identified not only what self-healing is, how it can be tied to money, but ultimately how we can also make more money when it comes to self-healing. If you like this video and you like this show, make sure to give ourselves a subscribe down there below. It's going to help us create less assholes in the world and ultimately help the world heal a lot more. And maybe, who knows, generate a little bit more money while we're at it, simply because we went out and started our healing journey. My name's Super Sid, the Business Shaman.
And I'm Tiffany Toombs, the NLP Queen.
And we are the Life Coach Launch School. We're super excited you came and hung out with us today. And let's not forget, let's dare to heal so we can dare to lead and ultimately dare to make infinite impact. We'll see you on the next video.